Hello everyone and welcome back to ranking the RuneScape skills. We already did RuneScape 3. Today we are doing Old School RuneScape skills. And I want to reiterate, like I did last time, I am not an expert on skills in RuneScape 3 or Old School RuneScape. This is just personally based on my opinion. I do have some criteria. Number one is how enjoyable it is. And part of that is how many different ways there are to train that skill, how fun I think it is to do it. Number two is how well it fits in the world. So how does it fit with the lore? How does it integrate into the game world itself? And how does it integrate into the world of Gielinor? Number three is how much you get out of it. And what I mean by that is how many resources do you get? How much new information do you get? How much XP do you get? Like, what does it give you? But a lot of this is just my personal feelings about it. How much I enjoy it, how much I don't enjoy it, things like that. If you disagree with me, I'd love to hear it in the comments. But enough of this intro, let's get right into it and rank the old school skills. All right, as you can see here, we still have our RuneScape 3 skills on here. I left them on here instead of making a brand new tier list. I would like to see where the old school skills that are also in RuneScape 3, where they like compare to their RuneScape 3 counterpart. We are going to go in alphabetical order. So we are going to start with agility. In Old School RuneScape, I think agility is epic because I love agility so much. I will go to agility rooftops and just do those for hours. Like, that is something that actually calls to me. I could be sitting here and go, you know what? I want to log into Old School and do some agility rooftops. In fact, you'll notice that RuneScape 3 agility is in meh, and that's because to me, it's not as fun in RuneScape 3 as it is in Old School. I think Old School does a much better job with the agility rooftop courses and the agility outfit that you can get, full graceful. I think that's a really cool goal to have. Love full graceful, love the marks of grace, love the agility rooftops. It's epic. I love agility in Old School RuneScape. Attack and strength I'm going to talk about together. Technically, strength is further down on the list alphabetically, but I really think they're kind of tied together. Attack in Old School RuneScape, I'm actually going to put it in the same category. Great. In Old School RuneScape, it's my favorite combat ability, so I really love training it because I love getting new weapons, but it doesn't call to me. I'm not drawn to do it for any reason other than just to get better stats and get better stuff. But I really do like melee. It's my favorite combat ability in Old School RuneScape. And as you can see in RuneScape 3, it was edged out by necromancy, but Old School doesn't have necromancy. So melee is my favorite combat ability in Old School RuneScape, but I don't enjoy training attack just for fun. I do it to get better stats, but I still do really enjoy melee and I enjoy training attack, but it's just not epic, but it's great. Strength, on the other hand, is gonna go in meh. These two are the same. They're exactly the same as RuneScape 3. And I said in RuneScape 3, I feel like strength is redundant. Why do we need strength? You know, I understand that it makes your attacks hit harder, but if my attack is level 99, shouldn't my melee attacks hit hard? Like, I think strength should just be part of each combat ability. As that combat ability goes up, you can hit harder with that combat ability. So I don't understand why it's its own skill. To me, it seems redundant, and I don't love that I have to train it separately. I don't think it should be its own skill. I don't hate it, so that's why it's not lower than meh, but I do think it's redundant. So it's going in the same category. Next is cooking. Cooking, I think, is pretty cool. In Old School RuneScape, it feels harder to get the ingredients than it is in RuneScape 3. You can see I put cooking in RuneScape 3 as great. And so it's not as fun to me, but it's not a bad skill. It's still a good skill. I just don't enjoy it as much as I do in RuneScape 3. So it's in pretty cool. It's probably at the top of pretty cool because it's almost in great. It's only because it's just a little harder to get the ingredients. And you can see that cooking is already at the bottom of great in RuneScape 3. So that's not bad. I still like it and I like doing it, but it's just a little harder to do in Old School RuneScape. So it ranks a little lower. Next is construction. I avoid it. I think it's so boring, to be honest with you. Building a cabinet and then tearing it down and building it again is so boring to me. And again, you might disagree. You might love construction. To be fair, I haven't done a lot of construction contracts, but the reason I haven't done a lot of construction contracts is because I avoid it. I avoid construction. So I should try that because who knows, that might make it change its rankings, but to be honest, I just don't love construction in Old School RuneScape. And you can see construction in RuneScape 3 is up here, but that has a lot to do with 4 and 3, which is a really recent addition, and I think makes construction a lot more interesting in RuneScape 3. But in Old School RuneScape, I don't really care about it. I kind of avoid it. Crafting in Old School RuneScape. This is interesting. I'm trying to see if I want to put it in pretty cool or in great, because I actually like crafting in Old School RuneScape more than I like it in RuneScape 3. Part of that is I've found more success crafting in Old School RuneScape, like making gold bracelets and stuff like that. And I know there are more options in RuneScape 3, but I've had more fun crafting in Old School. So I'm gonna put it in pretty cool, but it's gonna rank higher than it did in RuneScape 3. I still think it's pretty cool. I wouldn't put it in great, but it's gonna rank higher in pretty cool than it did for RuneScape 3. That's for sure. So yeah, that's where it's gonna live. And it'll live right next to cooking, I think, is a good spot. It's kind of like second and pretty cool. That's a good ranking, I think. Okay, you might notice that this has popped up all of a sudden, and it's because I realized I forgot Constitution. And the reason I forgot Constitution is because just like in RuneScape 3, I think it's meh. I think kind of like Strength, I think it's a little redundant. I don't know why it's its own skill. I think it should be tied into your combat level. Like when your combat level goes up, your hit points go up. I don't like that it takes XP from whatever combat skill I'm training. I wish that it would just go up with your combat level. I don't like that it's its own skill. They'll never change it though, because there are people who have the Constitution max cape, and if they took it away, they would lose that achievement. I know like Witch's House gives Constitution XP and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't see the point, but it is what it is. Defense. Defense is going to also go in great, just like it does in RuneScape 3. And a lot of these feelings that I have in RuneScape 3 for attack and defense, they're the same in Old School because I kind of have the same feelings about them in RuneScape 3. Yes, there are more options in RuneScape 3 as far as like what metals your weapons can be made out of, what metals your armors can be made out of. What I enjoy about training attack and training defense is the same in both. In defense, I love achieving new levels with new armor. I will say that it's a little more exciting in RuneScape 3 because each armor set has a different design, whereas all the basic armor sets in Old School have the same design with different colors, but it's still cool to upgrade to that new color. When you upgrade to rune eventually, it's really exciting to get that rune blue. Oh, it's so beautiful. And then eventually when you start to get dragon stuff, it's really, really cool. And I just love it. I love achieving those new levels. I love getting tankier. I love getting stronger. It's what makes MMOs so fun. Yeah, it's in great because I don't love training it, but I do love the achievements through defense. I love having higher defense, and I do like training it, but it doesn't call to me like the epic skills do. So it's great. It's great. I really like it, but you know, now that I talk about it, I kind of feel like defense is in pretty cool. Should I change my answer? I think it's pretty cool. I think it's just pretty cool. I'm gonna keep RuneScape 3 here though, because I do think achieving the different armor sets, having them look different and having them have a more intricate design every time they get higher and higher does make it feel more special, and it makes it more fun to upgrade to those armor sets. So RuneScape 3 is still at great. I think defense in Old School RuneScape is just at pretty cool, but I will put it above cooking because I appreciate having a higher defense level and having better armor more than I enjoy cooking. So it's at the top of pretty cool. Next up is farming. Is meh. I think it's just meh. It's above strength and constitution, but to me it's just meh. The tree runs to me aren't as fun. The lodestone network in RuneScape 3 makes tree runs pretty easy, especially early on. And in RuneScape 3, I'll log in just to do a tree run real quick and then log back out. I feel like I can't really do that in Old School because it's not as fast. Now I know people will tell me like you can unlock teleports and blah blah blah, but the fact that in RuneScape 3 I can do that early on makes it a lot more accessible and makes it a lot more efficient and makes it a lot more fun. And also I have to mention that they don't have player-owned farms in Old School RuneScape, and I think player-owned farms are really fun. I love player-owned farms, and that was a big reason that farming was up here and pretty cool for RuneScape 3. So it's just meh for me in Old School RuneScape. Next up is fishing. Fishing is epic, just like it is in RuneScape 3. Fishing, I can do that for hours. I can literally just go fish, and it's just so much fun. I love doing it. It calls to me. It's definitely epic, just like in RuneScape 3. doesn't change because I love it so much. It's so peaceful. And you know, I don't like fishing in real life, but people tell me that in real life fishing is like a really peaceful activity. And in RuneScape, it definitely is. In RuneScape 3 and in Old School. So that one didn't change. It's in Epic. I love it. It's great. Next up is fire making. And again, we have an epic skill. It's above fishing. And I think this is tough. Does it go before agility or after? I think it's before, because I have always enjoyed fire making, even before the rooftop agility courses, and I don't think I enjoy the rooftop agility courses and agility as a whole more than I enjoy fire making. I really, really like fire making. It's not as fun as RuneScape 3 because it's not as AFKable. So you know what? I do think I'm gonna move it below agility, if not just for the fact that there are no bonfires. And bonfires make fire making so much more fun in RuneScape 3 because you can AFK and do something else. So I do like it better in RuneScape 3, but it's still epic. It's still epic. I love fire making. It's so fun. It's so fun. Fletching is another epic skill. We're having a tear of epics right now, but this one is above all of them. I love fletching so much, and I said in my RuneScape 3 video, I don't exactly know why I love fletching so much. I don't know. I love making the bows and having this huge stack of bows and then selling those bows, getting a ton of money, making a profit, buying more materials and going again, and bank standing and just chilling out, fletching and getting it to a super high level. It was one of the first skills that I got to level 80 because I just love bank standing and fletching, and it's great. I love it. So it's definitely an epic skill. It calls to me. I do it for the fun of it, not just because I'm trying to get to level 99. So definitely, epic skill for sure. Next is Herblore. I think it's meh, but it's before strength and constitution. It's meh only because it's not as accessible as it is in RuneScape 3. I feel like there are more Herblore resources in RuneScape 3, and I don't mean more ingredients, but I mean like there are shops that help you in the new player area that give you supplies, and I feel like you get more Herblore drops in RuneScape 3, like especially in that starting area. I think it's way more accessible in RuneScape 3. It's easier to get into. You don't have to do a quest first. Now that quest isn't hard, but you don't have to do a quest first to start leveling up in Herblore in RuneScape 3. So just because it's not as accessible in Old School RuneScape, I think it's meh in Old School. I don't hate it, but in Old School, I don't do it a lot because it's not as easy to get into. So yeah, it's just meh. Next up is Hunter. This again is gonna be just like RuneScape 3. I avoid it. I don't like Hunter in Old School RuneScape or in RuneScape 3. I don't hate Hunter, but I don't like it. So that's why it's not meh, because I am more negative on it. I don't have a lot of fun doing it. I don't have a lot of fun hunting, and I just don't think it's a very interesting skill. I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and I don't feel like you get a lot out of it. Like in general, you know, we talked about some of the criteria for this. One of them was, what do you get out of it? And I just don't feel like you get a lot out of Hunter. You get Hunter XP, but that only helps Hunter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just feeds itself, it feels like. And I know you can get like Chinchampas, but I just don't care about Chinchampas. So I don't care about Hunter. It's more than that. It's more than I don't care, because meh would be I don't care, but I avoid it. I don't want to do it. It's an avoid it for me, unfortunately. Next up, we have my second favorite combat ability, Magic. And you know what? We're going to pop that in the same tier because it's great. It's my second favorite combat ability. It got knocked down to third in RuneScape 3 because of Necromancy, but Old School, it's my second favorite because I love using it. I love using it in combat situations. Don't love training it just for fun, but I do enjoy training it, and I love using it in combat situations. So it's great. So next up, we have mining, and mining is epic, just like in RuneScape 3. I love mining. I always have, ever since I first started playing RuneScape in 2005, which was almost 20 years ago. Dear Lord, I can't believe that. But back when I started playing in 2005, mining, it was always the skill I loved the most. It's better in RuneScape 3 because of the mining rework, where now people can't grief you anymore because ores don't deplete. But even so, I still love it in Old School RuneScape. It's still my favorite skill of all time. I could go mining for hours, and I have many times just gone mining forever and ever and ever. I love it. I love it so much. Next up is prayer. Because I don't know. I feel like it's easier in Old School because there's that gilded altar in the wilderness, and I know it's dangerous, but you can get there without having to go to somebody's house. I think I actually like it in Old School more. You might say like, well, that's ridiculous because it's not hard to find a player-owned home with a gilded altar, but I don't know. I just feel like having that option in the wilderness, I like it more. I like it more that way. And I know there is an altar in the wilderness, but it's not a gilded altar. You don't get the same XP rates, as far as I know. If I'm wrong in the comments, let me know. But yeah, having that altar in the wilderness makes a world of difference, and I think it's at the bottom of pretty cool. It's definitely below crafting. And like I said in RuneScape 3, there is some inherent lore stuff with all the gods, but you don't really get as much of that in Old School unless you do like God Wars or something like that. But it is worth noting since that's one of my criteria. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Next up is ranged. I feel like I enjoy ranged more in Old School, but I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's just nostalgia talking or if that's real. So you know what? I'm gonna put it at the top of meh. But it is still definitely my least favorite combat ability. It always has been. I've always preferred melee and magic. Yeah, it's just my least favorite. I feel like there's just not as much that you can do. I don't know if that makes sense. I never really got into the cannons. Maybe if I started making cannons, that would make range training better, and it would make it more interesting to me. I think a big thing also is I don't love the armor that you can wear for ranged. I think it's kind of boring, you know, because like the magic outfits, awesome. The armor sets, awesome. The ranged armor, kind of weak to me. And to me, it's not as fun to train as magic or attack, so it's just gonna land in meh. Rune crafting. This is going to be a big change. As you can see, I put rune crafting in pretty cool for RuneScape 3, but for Old School, I think I have to put it in avoid it because it's so tedious. In Old School RuneScape, you know, you can only carry so much rune essence with you at a time, and you know, it's so much running back and forth, whereas in RuneScape 3 you can just go to the rune span and just stay there for hours. I don't think you have to leave. Like, I think you could in theory stay there till 99 and just keep going. Is it the most efficient way to do it? Probably not, but I think in theory you could do that, and I just think the rune span is so interesting that that's why it's way up here. But Old School RuneScape, I avoid rune crafting. It's just not very fun to me, but it almost feels essential for magic if you don't want to spend a ton of money. I don't love it. I avoid it because I just think it's a little tedious and I don't enjoy it. But I don't hate it, but it is more than neutral. It's not meh. I dislike it, but I don't hate it. Next is Slayer in Old School RuneScape. Slayer, man, this is gonna be rough. As you can see, I put it in avoid it for RuneScape 3. I think it's worse than that in Old School RuneScape. I think I hate it. I don't love Slayer anyway, but in Old School RuneScape, it's so much harder, and it's harder to get to your Slayer Masters because it's harder to travel and it's harder to get around, and it's more than avoid it. I don't want to do it. In Old School RuneScape. So it's definitely hate it. I don't hate it as much as Dungeoneering. If I was ranking it with the RuneScape 3 stuff, it would definitely be ahead of Dungeoneering, but it's definitely more of a dislike than avoid it. I hate it. Next up is smithing. This one is going to be drastically different. It's up here in great, but I think in Old School RuneScape, I can't tell if it's avoid it or meh. I'm gonna put it here for a second so we can talk about it, but it's so slow. And it doesn't correlate to mining very well. Like, you can start mining a new ore a lot sooner than you can actually start making anything of consequence with that ore. Like, for example, once you unlock Mithril to mine it, I don't remember what level it is. Let's say it's level 20. That could be wrong. I don't have it in front of me. But let's say you unlock Mithril ore at 20 mining. You would also unlock Mithril smithing at 20, and you would unlock the full Mithril table, which means you can make anything out of Mithril now. You don't work your way through the table as you level up, which I like a lot better. It helps it stay more lockstep with mining as far as levels go, and it's more interesting in RuneScape 3. The reason I don't know if I can put it in avoid it is because I still do it, and I want my smithing to be higher because I want to make better stuff, but I'm doing it because I feel like I have to. I can't avoid it. So I'm gonna put it in meh, and I think it's above ranged. I don't love it. It's really slow. And if you're not smithing your own bars, it can be really expensive, because the most efficient way is not to smith your own bars, it's to just buy the bars from the Grand Exchange, so that can get really expensive, and it's so slow. And in RuneScape 3, you have the metal bank. If you have all your ore in your metal bank, you can have 200 ore in your metal bank and make 200 bars worth of items. You know, you can make 200 bars, keep them in your metal bank, make 200 bars worth of items. It's much more AFKable. It's much more accessible. It's at the top of meh, because there is something about it that I still enjoy, how it's tied to mining, but to me, it's an excruciating grind, and it's tough, and not just because it's long, but just because it's tedious. So yeah, it's in meh. That's where it's gonna live. Next up is thieving. I think thieving is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. I really enjoy going to the stalls and stealing from the stalls and getting that thieving level up. I do enjoy doing that. I can go do that for a while, but it's not quite great because there aren't as many options as there are in RuneScape 3. There are more thieving options in RuneScape 3, so it isn't pretty cool. I do think I'm gonna put it above defense because it's almost in great because I really like training it, but it's not quite because it doesn't have as many options as RuneScape 3. So pretty cool. I like it. It's a little limited, so it's at the top of pretty cool. All right, last but not least, we have woodcutting, and woodcutting is epic. It's epic and it's above fletching. It's right after mining. I love woodcutting so much. It's so fun. Again, I could go log into RuneScape for hours and hours and hours and hours and just do woodcutting. It's so fun. It's so tranquil. It's so peaceful. It's not as good as RuneScape 3 because you have the wood box in RuneScape 3, but you notice that didn't affect its placement at all. Woodcutting was already in my second place spot, and the wood box was just icing on the cake for me. So if this were a total ranking, this one would probably go, this mining would go behind this mining but ahead of woodcutting. This woodcutting would go behind this woodcutting but ahead of fire making. Yeah, it's still in this, as far as like ranking for old school, it's second spot. I love woodcutting. I could woodcut all day, not even to get to level 99, but just because I enjoy it. So it's definitely epic, and it's in my second place spot. All right, that's my tier list for old school RuneScape skills. I'd love to know what you think. Comment down below, let me know what you think, because I want to know where you would put everything. Is there something on here that I ranked low that you would have ranked higher? Or is there something on here that I ranked high that you would have ranked much lower? So comment down below, let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys think, because honestly, your feedback is what makes this all worth it. I love the conversations in the comment section, so let me know what you think. If you want to make your own ranking, I would love to see that. In fact, I want to challenge you guys. Make your own tier list, put it in my Discord server, because I want to see where you would rank everything, and I would love to have that discussion. So that would be really cool. If you want to join my Discord server, you can do that. Make your own tier list, put it in the Discord server. Let's talk about it. I'd love to talk about it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, please leave a like, and please subscribe to my channel, because those things really, really help, because it shows YouTube that people actually like my stuff, and so it shows my videos to more people. If you want to see my dad, who doesn't play video games, play both versions of RuneScape and give his impressions, you can check out this video. He's a pretty funny guy, and his impressions are pretty interesting, so there you go.